The glass doors of the Pacific Pinnacle's lobby slid open with a whisper, and I stepped into the world I'd built from nothing. A cathedral of steel, light, and ambition that pulsed with the heartbeat of San Francisco's tech elite. My heels clicked against the obsidian floor, each step echoing in the cavernous space where holographic displays danced with HarperTech's latest AI innovations. At 34, I was Emily Harper, the invisible architect of a $2 billion empire, and tonight, in this gleaming fortress of my own design. But as I approached the entrance to the Sky Lounge, where my father's 60th birthday gala was unfolding, my sister Lauren blocked my path, her manicured hand pressing against my chest like a velvet-clad barricade. "Emily, what the hell are you doing here?" she hissed, her eyes narrowing with that familiar mix of pity and scorn. "This place is for tech titans, not whatever you are." The air crackled with tension, and I felt the weight of every guest's gaze in the lobby. Venture capitalists in tailored suits, influencers snapping selfies with the AI-driven chandelier, and my mother, Margaret, whispering to a waiter with her signature country club poise. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from the thrill of what was coming. For years, my family had dismissed me as a dreamer, a failure, a shadow next to Lauren's golden glow. They had no idea I owned this entire complex. The Pacific Pinnacle, a futuristic marvel of offices, hotels, and event spaces that redefined San Francisco's skyline. They thought I was scraping by as a coder, barely able to afford rent, let alone the custom Armani gown I wore tonight, its midnight silk catching the light like liquid starlight. Lauren's hand lingered, her diamond bracelet glinting as she leaned closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "Don't embarrass us, Emily. Go home before you make a scene." I could have laughed. A scene? Oh, Lauren, you have no idea. But I held my tongue, my lips curling into a smile that felt like a loaded weapon. The truth was a grenade I'd been carrying for years, and tonight I was ready to pull the pin. My family's lies, their belief that I was nothing, that I'd never rise above their low expectations, were about to shatter against the reality of my empire. But the moment was interrupted by a low, steady voice behind me. "Miss Harper, everything is prepared as you requested." Liam Carter, my security director and closest confidant, stepped into view, his ex-Navy SEAL frame cutting an imposing silhouette in a tailored suit. His dark eyes flicked to Lauren, who froze, her hand dropping as if burned. Margaret's head snapped up, her pearls catching the light as she hurried over, her face a mask of irritation. "What's this about, Emily? Who is this man?" Liam didn't flinch. "Liam Carter, head of security for HarperTech. I needed a word with Miss Harper about her arrangements for the evening." His words landed like a sledgehammer, and I watched the confusion ripple across my mother's face. "Arrangements? HarperTech?" Lauren's eyes darted between us, her confidence fraying like cheap thread. "What arrangements?" she demanded, her voice rising, drawing more eyes. Margaret's whisper was sharper now, slicing through the hum of the lobby. "Emily, if you're causing trouble, leave. This is your father's night, not your stage." The accusation stung, but it was nothing new. My whole life, I'd been the problem child, the one who dared to dream beyond their suburban Palo Alto bubble. But tonight, I wasn't here to beg for their approval. I was here to burn their illusions to the ground. "Let's not keep the guests waiting," I said, my voice calm but laced with steel. I stepped past Lauren, feeling her glare like a blade in my back, and headed toward the Sky Lounge's private elevator. Liam followed, his presence a silent promise of protection. As the doors closed, sealing us from the lobby's prying eyes, I exhaled, my fingers brushing the diamond pendant at my throat. A gift from my mentor, Sarah Nguyen, who'd seen my potential when my family saw only failure. "You sure about this, Emily?" Liam asked, his voice low. "It's going to be a war zone in there." I met his gaze, my reflection sharp in the elevator's mirrored walls. They've been waging war on me my whole life. Tonight, I'm just returning fire. The elevator dinged and the doors opened to the Sky Lounge, a breathtaking expanse of glass and light perched atop the pinnacle. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the glittering San Francisco skyline, from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Salesforce Tower, and the room buzzed with the city's elite, CEOs, politicians, and my oblivious family, who thought they'd scored a deal on this exclusive venue. My father, David, stood near the bar, laughing with his golf buddy, Jim Carter, his silver hair catching the glow of the AI-curated lighting I'd designed. He looked happy, unaware that his daughter owned the ground beneath his feet. Margaret was charming a group of neighbors, her in suit, a relic of her country club days, while Lauren and her boyfriend Ethan, a smug corporate lawyer, posed for photos with the holographic menu display. None of them saw me enter, but the staff did. Olivia Reed, my general manager, glided over, her smile warm but professional. "Miss Harper, the menu is set per your specifications, and the 2010 Chateau Petrus from your personal cellar is ready for the toast." Her words carried, and I felt the room shift. David's laughter faltered, his eyes finding mine across the crowd. Margaret's glass of champagne trembled in her hand, and Lauren's head whipped around, her face draining of color. "What did you just say?" she demanded, storming toward Olivia. "Ms. Harper? Her cellar?" Olivia didn't blink. "Yes, Ms. Harper, the owner of the Pacific Pinnacle and CEO of HarperTech." The silence was deafening, a vacuum sucking the air from the room. Every guest turned, their whispers rising like static. My father's jaw dropped, his whiskey glass forgotten in his hand. Margaret clutched her pearls, her voice a strangled whisper. "That's impossible." Lauren laughed, a brittle, desperate sound. "This is a joke, right? Emily's a nobody. She can't even afford to be here." I stepped forward, my gown shimmering under the lights, and met their stares. "No joke, Lauren. This is my building, my company, my life." The words felt like freedom, like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. But before I could savor the moment, a new voice cut through the crowd, a voice I hadn't expected. "Well, well, Emily Harper, hiding in plain sight." Victor Kane, CEO of Nexus AI, my former employer and current rival, stood near the bar, his smirk dripping with malice. He had been invited by Ethan, Lauren's boyfriend, who now looked like he regretted it. Victor raised his glass, his eyes glinting with a predator's hunger. "To the secret queen of tech. How long did you think you could keep this charade going?" My stomach twisted. Victor wasn't just a guest. He was a threat, and his presence here wasn't a coincidence. The room erupted in murmurs, cameras flashing as influencers sensed a scandal. Liam moved closer, his hand brushing my arm, a silent signal to stay sharp. I forced a smile, my mind racing. Victor had nearly destroyed me once, back when his company hacked my startup at 22, leaking my AI prototype and leaving me penniless. I'd clawed my way back, building HarperTech in the shadows. But Victor's sudden appearance tonight meant he knew more than he should. Had he been the one who tipped off the tabloid reporter sniffing around earlier today, threatening to expose my identity before I was ready? Or was this Ethan's doing, a calculated move to undermine me for Lauren's sake? My family's shock was no longer my only problem. Victor's presence turned this gala into a minefield. "Enjoy the evening, Victor," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding my veins. "This is a family celebration, not a boardroom." I turned to Olivia, ignoring the chaos brewing behind me. "Let's start the appetizers." She nodded, signaling the staff, who moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine. But as I made my way toward my father, Lauren grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "You liar," she hissed, her face inches from mine. "You've been playing us this whole time, making us think you were nothing." "Why?" her voice cracked. and for a split second I saw not just anger but hurt, a flicker of the sister I'd once idolized before she became my rival. I pulled my arm free, meeting her gaze. I didn't lie, Lauren. You just never asked. Margaret appeared beside us, her face a storm of betrayal. Emily, how could you do this? Humiliating us in front of everyone? We're your family. The word family felt like a slap, a reminder of every dismissal, every comparison to Lauren's perfect path. Growing up in Palo Alto, I'd been the odd one out, the girl who coded in her bedroom while Lauren dazzled at debate tournaments. At 15, I'd built an app that earned 10 grand, but my parents called it a distraction from real success. They funded Lauren's Yale law degree while I worked nights coding for startups to afford Stanford. When I landed a lead developer role at Nexus AI, Margaret said, "Coding's fine, but Lauren's clerking for a federal judge." Every milestone I shared was met with indifference or doubt, so I stopped sharing. I built Harper Tech in silence, turning failing properties into tech hubs, amassing a fortune my family couldn't imagine. And now, standing in my own empire, they dared to call me the liar. "Humiliating you?" I said, my voice low but cutting. "You booked this venue thinking I couldn't afford a glass of water here. You told me to chip in for drinks, Margaret. You told me not to embarrass you, Lauren. Who's humiliating who?" My father approached, his face a mix of awe and confusion. "Emily, is this true? You own all this?" Before I could answer, Victor's voice slithered through the crowd again. "Oh, it's true, David. Your daughter's been outsmarting us all, but secrets like hers don't stay buried forever." His words sent a chill down my spine. What did he know? Was he behind the threatening messages from a disgruntled ex-employee who'd stalked me last month, leaving notes like, "You'll pay for what you took," or the sabotage of my $50 0-cents M investor pitch at 26 when a colleague spread lies about my startup stability? Liam's hand grazed my back, grounding me. "Focus on the plan," he murmured. "The plan." I'd orchestrated this night to reveal my success, not to unravel under Victor's taunts or my family's accusations. I'd arranged for the Sky Lounge to be booked at half price, covering the rest anonymously, knowing Margaret would haggle over costs. I'd curated every detail, the AI-generated menu tailored to David's tastes, the wine from my personal cellar, the staff trained to treat me as a guest until the moment was right. But Victor's presence and Lauren's earlier attempt to cancel the booking, accusing me of fraud, had raised the stakes. If I faltered now, I'd lose more than my family's respect. I'd give Victor the opening he needed to strike at Harper Tech. I turned to my father, ignoring Victor's bait. "Yes, Dad, I built this. Harper Tech, the pinnacle, all of it." His eyes widened, a flicker of pride breaking through his shock. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked, his voice soft. I opened my mouth to answer, but Lauren cut in, her voice rising to a near shriek. "Because she wanted this drama, this spectacle. She's always been jealous of me." The accusation was absurd, but it stung, a reminder of the sister who'd once braided my hair, but grew to see me as competition. Margaret nodded, her face hardening. "You've always been difficult, Emily. Why couldn't you just be honest?" Honest? The word burned. I had been honest at 23 when I told them about my Nexus promotion, only to hear it's not a real career. Honest at 26 when I shared my startup dreams, only for David to ask, "What's your backup plan?" Honest at 28 when I launched Harper Tech, only for Margaret to change the subject to Lauren's law firm partnership. Their honesty was a one-way street, paved with their expectations of my failure. But before I could respond, a waiter approached, his face pale. "Ms. Harper, we have a situation. A reporter from TechBuzz is outside, demanding to speak with you. They claim they have compromising information." My blood ran cold. The tabloid leak. Someone, Victor? Ethan? Lauren? Had tipped them off, threatening to derail my reveal with a smear campaign. Liam stepped forward, his voice a low growl. "I'll handle it." But I grabbed his arm, my mind racing. "No, let them come. If they want a story, I'll give them one." My family stared, their shock deepening. Victor's smirk widened, and I knew he was playing a longer game, one that could cost me everything. The reporter's arrival, the rival's presence, my family's betrayal, it was all converging, a storm I'd have to navigate blind. But I'd faced worse. At 22, I'd rebuilt my startup after Nexus's hack. At 26, I'd outmaneuvered a saboteur to secure new investors. At 30, I'd stared down a stalker's threats, with Liam's team as my shield. I wasn't the girl they'd underestimated anymore. I was Emily Harper, and this was my empire. As the staff ushered the reporter toward us, cameras flashing like gunfire, I straightened, my gown catching the light. "Let's continue the celebration," I said, my voice carrying over the chaos. "We have a lot to toast tonight. My family's lies, Victor's schemes, the world's scrutiny. They'd all learn the truth. I wasn't just here to survive. I was here to win." The Sky Lounge pulsed with the electric hum of San Francisco's elite, their voices a low roar beneath the shimmering holographic displays that cast prismatic light across the glass walls. I stood at the center of the storm I'd unleashed, my heart a steady drumbeat despite the chaos swirling around me. My sister Lauren's face was a mask of frozen horror, her earlier confidence shattered by the revelation that I, Emily Harper, was not the struggling coder she'd mocked, but the CEO of Harper Tech and owner of the Pacific Pinnacle. My mother, Margaret, clutched the railing of the bar, her pearls glinting like tiny moons as she stared at me, her expression caught between disbelief and betrayal. My father, David, stood a few feet away, his whiskey glass forgotten in his hand, his eyes searching mine for answers I'd long stopped offering. And then there was Victor Kane, my rival from Nexus AI, his smirk a razor's edge as he raised his glass, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "To secrets unveiled," he said, his tone laced with venom. "But how long, Emily, before the world knows the real cost of your empire?" The air thickened, every guest's gaze pinning me like a spotlight. Liam Carter, my ex-Navy SEAL security director, hovered at my side, his presence a silent shield against the storm I'd invited. I'd planned this night to reveal my truth, to dismantle the lies my family had built around me. But Victor's words hinted at something darker, a threat I hadn't anticipated. Had he orchestrated the tabloid reporter's presence, now lurking at the edge of the lounge with a camera flashing like a warning shot? Or was it Ethan, Lauren's smug corporate lawyer boyfriend, who'd invited Victor to this gala, knowing it would unsettle me? The room felt like a chessboard, and I was no longer sure who the players were, but I'd faced worse: hacks, betrayals, stalkers, and I wasn't about to let Victor or my family's accusations unravel me now. "Victor," I said, my voice smooth as glass, "enjoy the champagne. It's from my personal cellar." I turned to Olivia Reed, my general manager, who stood poised near the AI-curated menu display. "Let's serve the first course." Her nod was crisp, and the staff moved with choreographed precision, gliding through the crowd with trays of seared scallops and microgreens. The guests, sensing the drama's peak had passed, returned to their conversations, but the tension lingered like smoke. Lauren stepped closer, her heels clicking sharply, her eyes blazing. "You think you can just drop this bomb and walk away?" she hissed, her voice low but venomous. "You've been lying to us for years, Emily, making us think you were nothing while you played queen up here in your tower." I met her gaze, unflinching. "I didn't lie, Lauren. You assumed. You all did." My words were calm, but they cut, and I saw her flinch, a crack in her perfect facade. Margaret approached, her face a storm of indignation. "Emily, this is unacceptable. Humiliating us in front of our friends, our colleagues. We're your family." The word family stung, a reminder of every dismissal, every comparison to Lauren's gilded path. Growing up in Palo Alto, I'd been the odd one out, coding in my bedroom while Lauren dazzled at Yale. I'd built an app at 15 that earned 10 grand, but Margaret called it a hobby. I'd paid my way through Stanford while they funded Lauren's law degree. Every milestone, my Nexus AI promotion, my startup's launch, HarperTech's rise, was met with doubt or indifference. So I'd stopped sharing, building my empire in silence. Now, standing in the pinnacle, I was done apologizing for their blindness. "Humiliating you?" I said, my voice steady but sharp. "You booked my venue, thinking I couldn't afford a ticket to this party. You told me to chip in for drinks, Margaret. You told me not to ruin this, Lauren. If anyone's humiliated, it's because you couldn't see what was right in front of you." David stepped forward, his expression a mix of awe and guilt. "Emily, you built all this? The pinnacle, HarperTech, everything?" His voice was soft, almost reverent, and for a moment I saw the father who'd once taught me to ride a bike, not the man who'd asked if I had a backup plan when I launched my company. Before I could answer, Victor's voice slithered through the crowd again. "Quite the empire, David, but empires fall when their foundations are shaky." His eyes locked on mine, and I felt a chill. He knew something about the hack that nearly destroyed me at 22, the sabotaged investor pitch at 26, or the stalker who'd left threatening notes last month. "You'll pay for what you took." Liam's hand brushed my arm, a signal to stay focused. "He's baiting you," he murmured. I nodded, forcing my attention back to the gala, but the reporter from TechBuzz was now inside, weaving through the crowd, her camera flashing as she zeroed in on me. "Ms. Harper," she called, her voice cutting through the chatter. "Care to comment on allegations that HarperTech's AI patents were built on stolen tech?" The room froze, every head turning. My pulse spiked, but I kept my face neutral. Stolen tech? The accusation was a lie, but it echoed the hack from 12 years ago when Nexus AI, Victor's company, leaked my prototype, nearly bankrupting me. Was this his endgame? To discredit me publicly on the night of my triumph? "Miss Harper welcomes all inquiries," Liam interjected, stepping between me and the reporter. "But tonight is about celebrating David Harper's birthday. Let's keep it that way." His tone was polite but ironclad, and the reporter hesitated, sensing the wall she'd hit. Olivia signaled the staff and the lights dimmed, drawing attention to a holographic display projecting David's favorite memories, photos I'd curated from his old albums, paired with a custom soundtrack. The distraction worked, and the crowd's focus shifted, but Victor's smirk told me he wasn't done. As the first course was served, I pulled Liam aside, my voice low. "Find out how that reporter got in, and keep an eye on Victor. He's not here by accident." Liam nodded, his jaw tight. "Already on it. But Emily, there's something else. One of our top engineers, Mia Chen, was approached by Victor's team tonight. They offered her double her salary to jump ship." My blood ran cold. Mia was the backbone of HarperTech's latest AI project, a predictive analytics engine that could revolutionize real estate markets. Losing her would cripple us. "Handle it," I said, my mind racing. "Offer her whatever she needs to stay. Equity, a promotion, anything." Liam nodded and slipped away, leaving me to face the gala alone. I approached my father's table, where he sat with Jim Carter and his wife Susan, their faces alight with curiosity. "Emily, this place is incredible," Susan said, gesturing to the holographic displays. "You designed all this?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Every detail." David's eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw pride, not doubt. "I had no idea," he said softly. "Why didn't you tell us?" Before I could answer, Lauren's voice cut through, sharp and accusing. "Because she wanted this moment, Dad. To rub it in our faces." She stood at the edge of the table, Ethan at her side, his face unreadable. Margaret joined her, her voice trembling with anger. You've made a spectacle of us, Emily. Do you have any idea how this looks? Our friends, our neighbors, all thinking we knew nothing about our own daughter's success. The irony was almost laughable. They'd spent years dismissing me, and now they were offended by their own ignorance. But before I could respond, Ethan spoke, his tone smooth but calculated. Emily, I'm sure this was unintentional, but you should know my firm's looking into the legalities of your anonymous gifts. The Napa retreat, the Tesla, the investments. Hiding your identity could be seen as deceptive. We might need to discuss repercussions. The threat hit like a punch. My anonymous gifts, funding my parents' luxuries, their retirement, were acts of love, not deception. But Ethan's words were a chess move, a way to regain control for Lauren's sake. I leaned forward, my voice low. Even if your firm wants to waste billable hours on a non-issue, be my guest. But my gifts were legal, documented, and mine to give. Focus on your own liabilities. His smile faltered, and Lauren's eyes widened, but I didn't wait for a response. I turned to David, softening my tone. Dad, I didn't tell you because every time I tried, you didn't hear me. When I got my Nexus job, Mom said it wasn't a career. When I started Harper Tech, you asked about my backup plan. I built this in silence because it was easier than being dismissed. David's face crumpled, guilt etching lines I hadn't noticed before. I didn't realize, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought we were being practical. Margaret's hand tightened on her glass, but she said nothing, her silence louder than any argument. The gala continued, the staff serving a main course of Wagyu beef, paired with the 2010 Chateau Petrus I'd selected from my cellar. Guests like the Wilsons peppered me with questions about Harper Tech, their admiration a stark contrast to my family's withdrawal. Lauren and Margaret sat in tense silence, Ethan whispering to Lauren, likely plotting their next move. Victor, meanwhile, worked the room, his charm a mask for whatever scheme he was brewing. I caught him speaking to Mia Chen near the dessert table, his hand on her arm, her expression conflicted. My stomach twisted. Losing Mia would be a blow, but Victor's presence was a bigger threat. What did he know about my past, my sacrifices? As the evening wound down, I stepped onto the Sky Lounge's balcony, the San Francisco skyline glittering below. The cool night air steadied me, but my mind churned. Victor's taunts, the reporter's accusations, Ethan's legal threats. They were pieces of a puzzle I couldn't yet solve. And then there was the family member's betrayal I'd hinted at earlier, a secret I hadn't shared even with Liam. Years ago, someone close had leaked my startup's plans to a rival, costing me my first big investor. I'd never confronted them, but the wound lingered, and tonight's chaos made me wonder if they were behind Victor's presence. The door behind me opened and Liam joined me, his face grim. The reporter was invited by an anonymous tip, someone who knew about the gala, and Victor's team sent Mia a formal offer. She's considering it. Damn it, I muttered, my fingers tightening on the railing. What else? Liam hesitated, then handed me his phone. A viral post on X, already trending, showed a blurry photo of me in the lobby with Lauren's hand on my chest. The caption read, Tech CEO Emily Harper stages family drama at gala. Manipulative or misunderstood? The comments were brutal, painting me as a schemer who'd humiliated her family for clout. My chest tightened, the public's judgment a new weight on my shoulders. We need to counter this, I said, handing the phone back. Get our PR team on it, and schedule a meeting with Mia tomorrow. I'm not losing her. Liam nodded, but his eyes flicked to the lounge, where Victor was now laughing with Ethan. There's more, he said. Security found a device in the lobby, a small recorder, hidden near the entrance. Someone's been listening. The revelation hit like a shockwave. A recorder? Who was spying? Victor, Ethan, or someone else entirely? My mind flashed to the stalker from last month, the notes left at my office. "You'll pay." Was this connected? Or was it a new threat? I forced myself to breathe, to focus. "Find out who planted it," I said, "and get me a meeting with Dr. Rachel Cohen tomorrow. I need to navigate this family mess without losing my mind." Liam nodded, but before he could leave, David stepped onto the balcony, his face weary but determined. "Emily, can we talk?" he asked, his voice raw. I nodded, gesturing to the chairs overlooking the city. Liam stepped back, giving us space, but his presence lingered, a reminder that I wasn't alone. David sat, his hands clasped tightly. "I failed you," he said, the words heavy. "I see that now. All those years we thought we were protecting you, pushing you towards something safe, but we were wrong." His admission caught me off guard, a crack in the wall I'd built against my family's rejection. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. "You didn't just push me, Dad. You dismissed me. Every time I tried to share my dreams, you and Mom shut me down. Lauren was the star, and I was the risk." He nodded, his face etched with regret. "I remember now. When you got that Nexus job, I thought it was a phase. When you started your company, I thought you'd fail. I was wrong, Emily. What you've built, it's extraordinary." His words were a balm, but they didn't erase the years of hurt. "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. "But this isn't just about acknowledging my success, it's about changing how we move forward." He nodded, his eyes searching mine. "What do you need from me?" Before I could answer, Margaret's voice cut through the night, sharp and accusing. "Emily, we need to talk. Now!" She stood in the doorway, her face a storm of anger and shame. Lauren was behind her, Ethan at her side, their expressions a mix of defiance and unease. The gala was winding down, guests trickling out, but the real battle was just beginning. I stood, smoothing my gown, and faced them. "Let's talk then," I said, my voice firm. "But not here. Tomorrow, at Dr. Cohen's office, neutral ground with a mediator." Margaret's eyes narrowed, but David placed a hand on her arm. "She's right, Margaret. We need to do this properly." Lauren's face twisted, but she said nothing, her silence a small victory. As they left, Victor lingered near the exit, his eyes locking on mine. "This isn't over, Emily," he said, his voice low enough for only me to hear. "You can't hide forever." My heart raced, but I held his gaze, refusing to flinch. "I'm not hiding anymore," I said, and turned away, the city lights a reminder of all I'd built. The next morning, I woke in my penthouse, the San Francisco skyline stretching before me like a promise. My phone buzzed with notifications, missed calls from Margaret, texts from Lauren demanding a meeting, and an email from David that read, "I owe you an apology, many apologies. When you're ready, I'm ready to listen." His words gave me hope, but the day ahead was a minefield. I met Liam at Harper Tech's headquarters, a sleek glass tower adjacent to the Pinnacle. "The recorder's origins are untraceable so far," he said, handing me a coffee. "But we've tightened security. And Mia's meeting with you at noon. She's shaken but loyal. For now?" I nodded, my mind already on Dr. Cohen's office, where I'd face my parents in a few hours. But first I needed to address the social media storm. My PR team had drafted a statement, framing the gala as a celebration of family and innovation, but the comments on X were relentless, accusing me of everything from fraud to familial betrayal. I posted a single response, "The truth speaks for itself," proud to celebrate my father's 60th at the Pacific Pinnacle, a place built on vision and resilience. By noon, I sat across from Mia in my office, her nervous energy palpable. "Victor's offer is tempting," she admitted, avoiding my eyes. "But I believe in what we're building here. I just need to know you trust me. I leaned forward, my voice steady. Mia, you're the heart of this project. I'm offering you a 10% equity stake and a seat on the board. Stay, and we'll reshape the industry together. Her eyes widened, and she nodded, a smile breaking through. I'm in. Relief flooded me, but it was short-lived. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You can't outrun your past. Check TechBuzz. My stomach dropped. The site had published a hit piece, alleging I'd built Harper Tech on questionable ethics, with anonymous sources hinting at a family member's involvement in my early setbacks. The betrayal I'd buried, someone close leaking my startup's plans, was resurfacing, and I had no idea who to trust. At Dr. Cohen's office, a sleek conference room overlooking the bay, I faced my parents with a calm I didn't feel. Dr. Cohen, a sharp-eyed therapist with a knack for cutting through chaos, set the ground rules. No interruptions, no attacks. Focus on moving forward. I laid out my truth, my voice steady despite the weight of years. I was the odd one out, I said. At 15, I built an app that earned 10 grand and you called it a hobby. I paid for Stanford while you funded Lauren's Yale. When I got my Nexus job, you said it wasn't a career. When I started Harper Tech, you asked about my backup plan. I stopped sharing because you stopped listening. Margaret's face flushed, her hands twisting in her lap. David looked stricken, his silence heavy. Dr. Cohen turned to Margaret. What do you hear in Emily's words? Margaret straightened, her voice tight. We wanted the best for both our daughters. Emily's choices seemed risky, unstable. We were being practical. I shook my head. Practical for Lauren meant support, tuition, connections, praise. Practical for me meant doubt, dismissal, and paying my own way. David spoke, his voice raw. We did pay for Lauren's education. We didn't for yours. I see now how unfair that was. Margaret's eyes flashed, but she didn't contradict him. The admission was a crack in the wall, and I pressed forward. When I bought the Pinnacle, I sent you anonymous gifts. A Napa retreat, a Tesla, contributions to your retirement. You credited a family friend. Why? Because you couldn't imagine me succeeding? Margaret's composure cracked. Why did you hide it? Do you know how it felt, learning this in front of everyone, like we were fools? Her voice broke, and for the first time I saw not just anger, but pain. I didn't hide it, I said. I stopped trying to prove myself to people who'd already decided I was a failure. David reached for Margaret's hand, his voice steady. She's right. We expected Lauren to succeed and Emily to fail. We were wrong. The words hit like a tidal wave, and I blinked back tears, caught off guard by their power. Dr. Cohen guided us forward, outlining boundaries. Respect my career, stop comparisons, communicate honestly. Margaret resisted, but David agreed, and by the end, we'd set a follow-up meeting for next week. As I left, my phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. The truth is closer than you think. Attached was a grainy photo of a document. My startup's original pitch, the one leaked years ago. My heart stopped. Only a handful of people had seen it, including my family. Was one of them the traitor? I forwarded it to Liam, my hands shaking. Trace this number, I texted. Now. Back at the Pinnacle, I met Lauren for a tour she'd requested, her demeanor a mix of forced warmth and calculation. This place is incredible, she said, her eyes scanning the AI-driven concierge system. My firm could use a venue like this. Maybe a sisterly discount? I smiled, shutting her down. No discounts, Lauren. Business stays separate. Her face tightened, but she nodded, and we parted with a tentative agreement to meet for lunch, a small step toward something new. That night, I dined with Liam in my penthouse, the city sparkling below. "The number's a burner," he said, his face grim. "But we're close to identifying the recorder's source, and Victor's meeting with Ethan tomorrow. Could be trouble." I nodded, my mind racing. The document, the recorder, the social media storm, it was all connected, a web tightening around me. But David's email, Lauren's lunch invite, and Margaret's reluctant agreement to meet again gave me a flicker of hope. I wasn't fighting for revenge anymore. I was fighting for truth, for boundaries, for a life built on my terms. As I looked out at the skyline, I felt a surge of defiance. Victor, my family, the world, they could throw their worst at me. I'd built an empire from nothing, and I'd do it again if I had to. The game wasn't over, it was just beginning.